I can honestly tell you, I did not know that I was building a brand. And Blackthorn Consulting Group is not the brand. Patrick Jester is the brand.
All right. So, welcome to the You Are Lawyer podcast. Patrick Jester, how are you today?
I am fantastic, Kyla. How are you?
I'm very well. Where are you located?
I'm actually haven't left Baton Rouge since 2002. I moved back to Baton Rouge, not moving away. So this is home.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. So, you and I met in Baton Rouge at Southern University Law Center. I graduated in May 2015, and you were a part of a different kind of story. Would you tell everyone about your law school career?
Okay, so yes, part of a quite different story. Started law school later in life. I was in my 40s, late 40s. I was kind of the old man of the class. I graduated in 2018. I had a desire to become a children's attorney, so I was going to go to law school one way or another. And I had this idea that I was going to go to LSU, but LSU didn't have a night program. I had no idea that Southern had a night program. I knew they had a law school, but I didn't know they had an evenings program. And just to step back a little bit, when I thought I was going to go to LSU, I walked in the door of LSU, and my heart was crushed. It was just crushed because I knew I didn't belong there. I had no place there. It really hurt. And then I walked in the front door after it was recommended to me by several friends who were alumnus to give it a shot. So I walked in the front door and I was home. I knew I belonged there. And for some reason, his name's not coming to mind, but he manned the security desk all the time. But he walked up to me, he says, "You look like you need to go up to admissions." And he pointed me the way, and I was like, wow, I felt very welcome. I walked in the admissions office, and Miss Lena walked up to me, and she said, "What can I do for you, honey?" And from there, it was just, I was home, and I belonged there. Yeah. And then I met you. I met Kyla for the first time when I just decided I wanted to try and write for school paper. And you welcomed me, and my friend, you changed my life.
Aww.
And we'll get more into that, how you changed my life with that. But wow, so my path to law school was a little different. My path through law school was quite different. And as an older student, as someone who worked full time, I mean, I had a high level, executive level job that I had to focus on. I went to school at night, and literally I studied until like 6 a.m, got 2 hours of sleep, and then went to work. So it was a rough venture of trying to do it, but it was worth every single minute of it was worth it.
Yeah. And you're a parent as well. So you had children while you were in law school.
Right. So my youngest daughter, my wife and I adopted her. I have 3 adult children who live in Germany that are my children, my blood children but my wife and I, when we got married, she had never been married or ever had children and wanted to have a child. So we were not able to conceive naturally. So we adopted. And in that process is what drove me the desire to go to law school, because I was intending on becoming a children's attorney because of her and that process of adoption through the foster system. I was rough. And I knew that was going to drive me to law school, but different path. I realized about halfway through that children's law just was not going to be the one, is because I started taking it so personally. I started seeing what happens behind the scenes. I was paying attention to things that were happening in the courts with in terms of the Louisiana Children's Code, and with things that were happening in the children's courts. Even though I couldn't be inside the buildings, I still had an understanding of what was happening. I was a foster parent, an adoptive parent, so I was a part of the process. And I realized if I become a children's attorney and I'm having to deal with some of these parents that are just not good people, I was going to lose my license because I would not put up with it. I just wouldn't. I would have said something or done something that I'm not supposed to do because I care too much about the children, what these children go through. So I had a visualization put to me and my wife while we were foster parents, and we were told, write down the 5 things in your life that are most important that you can't do without. Okay, so I wrote them down. And the number one thing was my faith. My wife, my children, my job, my faith was number one. And then the instructor said, okay, strike off 2 that you have to let go. You don't have a choice. Strike 2. So I struck 2, and I didn't know where she was going. She said, okay, now strike another. Okay.
Wait, the list is too small. Wait.
I was like, I can't strike any of these. No, you don't have a choice. You have to. And then I caught it. These children, because of choices that they didn't make, they have to give up everything and they have no choice. They go from a home that they know with parents that they know, whether or not they're good parents or not, they still know that parent. They have no idea. They're not able to reason what's going on, and they're ripped away. Even if they're going to a better situation, they're ripped away from what they know, and it's not their choice. That impacted me so deeply that I knew then that I wanted to be a children's attorney to protect these children.
Yeah.
And then while in school, I started seeing more and then learning more about the practice of law and realizing I take it too personal. This is way too deep, way too personal, and I will do more detriment because I take it so personal. I can't disconnect from it. I'm better as an advocate in other ways than as a children's attorney. So I do it. I still participate with advocacy groups for foster parents and foster children and adoptive children as much as I can, so that I'm still involved in that. But I'm glad I'm not a children's attorney because it could have been rough.
Yeah. So you got out of law school in 2018. That's because the evening program is a part-time program. So you're not taking a full 16, 18 credit hours.
Yeah, it's sort of part-time, but it's still a heavy load. It's no joke. And Southern University Law Center is no joke. I mean, you have serious professors that are serious about the purpose of you being there. And if you don't belong there, honestly, it'll show up fast and you won't make it. So it's serious business.
I remember I only knew one lawyer before getting to Southern. And so I get there and you're like, campus is beautiful. And outside the building, it says seriousness of purpose. Yes. And then it starts and you're like, oh, this is serious. No, there are Supreme Court justices for the state of Louisiana who went to Southern. Southern is so legit. I remember when we had, I can't think of his name now, but he taught torts and he was a practicing doctor who was teaching medical malpractice. And I was like, they're not just your regular academics like undergrad. These are actually practicing people who are here teaching us about the law. So it was fascinating.
Yes, he was one of my favorite professors. He had his medical doctor from Rice and his Juris Doctor from Duke, I believe. And he taught both torts and con law.
Yes.
And I don't know why I can't pull his last name out.
I can't either.
I know his first name is Paul, and
I can see his face.
That, right?
Yeah, I can see his face.
He was such an amazing professor. I loved his approach to teaching. I'm older, I'm his age, so we got along well. We were on a first name basis. I called him Professor, and he called me Patrick.
Yeah.
Or most of the time he called me Mr. Jester, but sometimes he called me Patrick.
Yeah.
So.
I did take evening classes because when I got to Southern, I met a 2009 graduate and he told me, take this person, take that one, try this one. But I actually did the full-time day program. You just saw me there in the evening because I was always there. And then we have a good friend, Samora, in common, and he was taking a lot of night classes. So yeah.
Samora's awesome. First time I met Samora, I was like, he's a kindred spirit. I love Samora.
He's a good guy. Yeah. He's been on the show twice talking about his foundation. Now, Patrick, are you from Louisiana or you've just been there since 2002?
No, I'm originally from here.
Okay. All right. Because when I first got there, I wanted to make a lot of friends and I tended to connect with a lot of the out-of-state students. And Samora is from New York. And so that was how we first connected. Because there was just something we could just tell. We were like, what's this humidity? What's going on? People keep talking about Boudin. What is that? What's that street called? Oh, Chapatulas. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you doing now? What is your role?
I have to take you through some of this.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Going to law school, my hope was to obviously become an attorney. And my background started in aviation, and then I moved from aviation into what's called metrology, right? It's the science of measurement. So I have 2 engineering degrees. One is in microelectronics with emphasis in semiconductor technology. The second is microelectronics with a concentration in computer architecture. And I was enjoying it, but not as much as I thought I would. I shouldn't have gotten engineering degrees because I hate math. I really hate math, and engineering is all about math. Measurement is all about math. Well, I don't hate it as much as I used to. But metrology, the science of measurement, chose me. You don't get to choose it, because when most people hear metrology, they're hearing is meteorology, and they think that's what it is weather. And they say, I don't want to be a weatherman. It's the science of measurement, and I fell in love with it. And while in law school, I decided that I wanted to try to focus in on business law so I could be the corporate attorney for my previous employer. And then I started focus on tax law, because I thought that'd be interesting to have that along with the business side, to be able to do both for the organization, right? Well, then came the bar exam. Working full time, not having time to study for the bar exam, you have to take off at least 6 weeks to just focus strictly on the bar exam. I couldn't.
Yeah.
So as you know, in Louisiana, you can only take the bar exam 5 times. I took it 5 times. The last time I took it, I missed it by 2 points. I was devastated, as you can imagine. I was like, what a failure I am.
Yeah.
I beat myself up, just thought, what a joke. You go to law school for all these years and you can't even pass the one test to get a license. And I was outside walking around after the results came in, just started praying and just saying, God, why? I know you didn't lead me down this path just to leave me here. And then I got very serious and intentional about what I was praying for. And I said, God, if I'm not going to be a practicing attorney, I want to be involved in these organizations. And I named them out. An organization called ASQ, an organization named A2LA, the American Association for Laboratory Accreditation, and NCSLI, the National Conference for Standards Laboratories International. Not 2 days later, I get a phone call from a good friend of mine and mentor of mine that I used to work with, asking me if I would like to be the Louisiana section coordinator for NCSLI. And I looked up, I said, okay, God, I'm hearing you. Fast forward to today. Over the years, I became a lead assessor for the American Association for Laboratory Accreditation. I've become a lead assessor for another organization called ANSI National Accreditation Board. And this is for calibration laboratories. Metrology laboratories, the industry that I've been in for 21 years. And I am now the current chair of ASQ's, another organization I specifically aim, ASQ's Measurement Quality Division. I am the executive vice president today for NCSLI, National Conference for Standards Laboratories. Wow. Next year, I'll become president. So Yay. I'm using my Juris Doctor in different ways. So it's what one of our professors called a Juris Doctor Advantage career. And that's what I consider this, a Juris Doctor Advantage career. I don't need the Juris Doctor to do what I do, but it sure does help.
Yeah.
The education sure does help. Today, I'm an independent contractor and independent consultant, and I go around the world assessing calibration laboratories, helping calibration laboratories expand, grow, improve by performing internal audits and by performing laboratory assessment to the ISO 17025 standard, which is a quality management standard for my industry. And I am having more fun than I should be allowed to have.
Wow.
When I stepped out on my own, I actually stepped out away from my previous employer. My last day was December 31st, 2024, and started this January 1, 2025. And I knew I was going to have to work really hard and roll really, really hard for the first year. And I did, man. I did 268 hotel nights. I had over 230 flights. I traveled like crazy. I went to India, Korea, England, Germany twice, Canada many times, all over the country, the United States. I now have a client in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I have clients all over the United States. I've got 2 clients in Canada that are my personal clients. I have a client in Puerto Rico. Man, I'm having so much fun. I'm in the best mental space I've been in years, certainly since graduating law school. So if I tried to explain exactly what I do, everyone would just turn off, because what I do is complicated. It's very scientific. It's a lot of engineering, but there's also a lot of regulatory compliance behind it, sort of like Sarbanes-Oxley compliance, but not. I deal with HIPAA. I do deal with OSHA, MSHA, all these different safety requirements, and USP, which is United States Pharmacopoeia regulations, where some of my clients have to comply with FDA requirements.
Yeah. So let me get this straight. you were going to do the children's attorney route, and then you said, okay, fine, I'll study business. And now you're working as a consultant with all these different businesses for measurements and audits. And it's the 3 organizations that you wanted.
Yes.
And you went about it your own way.
Well, I did it God's way, but yes,
Right.
it's not. This is not a traditional path. You don't just. This doesn't just happen. It's not happenstance.
No.
I began with the end in mind, as you know, as Chancellor Pierre said, to begin with the end in mind. But the end picture did not look like it did in the beginning. It really didn't. It's exciting. It was scary at first. How was I going to step out here and do this on my own? But the one lesson that Scott Kurgi, who was one of my classmates, taught me in law school was to trust the process. I didn't understand what that really meant at the time, but he said, trust the process. And I did. I ended up just beginning to understand what that looked like and what that meant. And when I trusted that there was a plan, that there was a process to follow, everything started to fall into place in the right order. I didn't get caught up in the what ifs, except for while taking the bar exam.
Yeah.
And what I came to believe and understand is that if I would not have gone the full Monty and finished taking 5 times the bar exam and not making it 5 times, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
If I would have passed the bar exam, I would probably be miserable. I'll be honest with you. I would probably be miserable because the tax law piece, it became so boring. It became so dry. Oh my gosh. Sorry to my favorite law professor that I didn't continue. That's Professor Fasulo. He was my absolute favorite professor teaching tax law. I wouldn't have been a good tax professional because it's so boring.
Do you remember Alex Mitchell, the class clown? He is a tax attorney and loving it in Georgia. And I think it's because he's so silly and goofy, he doesn't mind the regulations and the checklist of all of tax law.
It just changes every single second of the day.
And apparently it's all year. When I interviewed him, I was like, it's only tax time, right? He's like, it's literally every other month than the month that taxes are due.
Sometimes daily, the IRS changes the tax code. Congress changes the tax code. They want to keep everybody on their toes and changing things. And let's be honest, Congress changes those tax laws to benefit themselves.
Yeah.
Don't try to head fake me. I know what you're doing, Mr. Congressman.
I love to hear that you're still advocating for foster parents. That was one of the questions I had. Like, I hope you're still able to contribute. Because when our dreams look different, we don't have to get rid of all of them, right? We just have to change our expectations. You had this expectation, God had another plan, and you had to say, I will trust you. I'll follow the process. Okay. So I think it's very, very cool because the bar exam is not free. So you paid to take it 5 times. You probably would have had a lot of regrets if you hadn't gone through all 5 times. You would have been like, what if?
Yeah, I felt like God said, I'm going to let you go through this so you get it out of your system, and then I can do what I plan to do in you. And boy, did he. And he provided. I mean, I have friends who are in this industry that at the same time I stepped out shortly after, stepped out on their own thinking, well, if he can do it, so they probably could have.
Yeah.
But the timing, it's all about timing. So my timing when I did it was the right time. Sometimes I feel like I was just a step early, but who knows, But when I stepped out, it was the right time. I was in the right place. And I formed Blackthorn Consulting Group back in 21 out of anger, out of frustration, because I was frustrated with my employer. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And I started doing this part-time. I can honestly tell you, I did not know that I was building a brand. And Blackthorn Consulting Group is not the brand. Patrick Jester is the brand. Just like Kyla, you are your brand. So I was building this brand all along, and we were at a conference, and I forced him to come to this conference. It was NCSL, National Conference for Standards Laboratories. We were at our big show, the Workshop and Symposium in Orlando, and he's walking around, and people see the name of the company on his shirt, and they say, hey, you work with Patrick Jester, don't you? And you can imagine the look on his face. He's like, yeah, he actually works for me. And they were like, "Oh, that's great. We're glad you're here. We're glad that your company's here, and that he brought y'all here, and he brought us here. Actually, he did. He's right. He brought us here. He came to me and he said, 'Man, you're a freaking legend.'" Well, he said another word, but "You're a freaking legend around here." He was like, "Everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows who the company is because of you." And I didn't realize it. That I said, "Well, you have to be here in order for that to happen." And I didn't catch it at the time.
Yeah.
He was jealous. He was not happy.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that spark your entrepreneurship. And when you realize you're the brand, that's one. But that one typically comes after people realize they're tired of being an employee. Because you still work extremely hard when you build your own thing. The effort is lighter because it's yours, but it's still the same steps, long hours, tears, money. At the end of the night, when you go to sleep, you're like, I did that for me. And it just feels so much different. Yeah. I actually just spoke at Ohio State earlier this week about personal branding to undergrad students. And I was like, what does a lawyer and podcaster have to do with this? But yeah, you are the brand. That was literally the name of my section.
I've been saying for years, and I got this actually from someone was talking about the NFL. No one's bigger than the shield. And I was like, wow, no one's bigger than the brand.
Yeah.
No one can be bigger than your brand. And when I was at my previous employer, I always said, no one is bigger than this brand. Not you, not me. We were having a conversation. I said, no one can be bigger than the brand. He said, you're absolutely right. He said, not even me. And my name is on it. And I am not bigger than this brand.
Yeah.
And it resonated with me that it also resonated with him. And so no one can be bigger than your brand. I may be the brand, but I'm not bigger than the brand.
Yeah.
That company brand, I have to protect it at all costs. And I do. I'm very protective of Blackthorn Consulting Group, but I'm very protective of Patrick Jester as a brand. My sister-in-law is my publisher, and she manages my marketing and my branding. And she tells me all the time, you can't do that. Protect your brand. What you're doing is not exactly what you need to do. So she stays on top of me with branding. So it's so super important. And I watch other people. I've been watching you since graduation, Kyla. You're very special to me. I've watched what you do. I am so proud of what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I'm honored to be able to come on here and spend some time with you post law school, because I mean, we're both doing different things that probably we thought we were going to be doing.
Yes, absolutely. And what is it that you said you're doing?
Metrology. It's the science of measurement.
When I hear it, I think metric system, metrology. I was like, okay, all right.
That's it.
I haven't spoken to a metrologist on this podcast, so you're the first. I'm excited for people to hear it because, yes, we were educated. Yes, we have a JD, but law school taught us how to strategize, how to prioritize, how to value ourselves, even if it takes us years to later realize. It teaches us all of that. And I love Southern. Everybody that I met there was fantastic. But let's talk about writing. You decided to write for the public defender. So what was it like for you? Why did you decide to do it? I know you didn't have a lot of free time. What was the value?
I just felt in my heart I wanted to try to write. Right out the gate, one of my favorite classes was legal writing. And in one of my undergrads is paralegal studies, and legal writing 1 and 2 were my 2 favorite classes. I really enjoyed the writing, and I started enjoying writing papers, and I really started to get into it. I knew I was probably not going to make law review, so I decided to see if I could write for the paper. And you took a chance on me and allowed me to do it, and I wrote for the paper all the way through. So writing, since you bring it up,
yay!
It's my first book, which came out last year. It's called Pillars of Command: The Core Values of Leadership. This book started as a work of love and passion. It took me 2 years to write it, and it's not a long book. You can read it in 90 minutes. It started off as a talk. I presented it at a conference for American Association for Laboratory Accreditation, A2LA, in 2023 in Tucson, that place changed my life. But the first time I presented it, I had over 150 people in the room. And it may not sound like a large venue, but it was for me. That was huge. And that's where it started. And I gave this talk so many times, so I decided to write it down and create a book. And I thought it needed to be this massive book. My sister-in-law said, no, this is fine. This is perfect. This is what you want. So I put this book out, and now I have a Substack blog. I have over 500 readers. I now have 165 subscribers in less than a year. So I have my Substack. I'm published in several different magazines with articles. I was just published in Quality Magazine for the probably sixth time in the last year. I'm regularly published in other journals, and I'm loving the writing. And my next book is coming out in a couple of weeks. It's called The Leader's Compass: Navigating Uncertainty When the Map Runs Out.
Ooh, that's a good title. I am going to pick up the first book. I do book reviews on YouTube, and it's a really funny addition to my brand. And people find that, and then they're like, wait, you're a lawyer? And so then they come to the podcast. So, but I'm always reading fiction and nonfiction. So I'll grab that, and I'll be on the lookout for your next one.
Yay, thank you. Thank you so much. Have you put out a book yet?
Yet is the key word. I just left my sister's house because I've written 2 children's books, and she's a graphic designer. So we're working on illustrations. And I want to teach kids because I have a 5-year-old, and we're all about your will, your autonomy, what you're actually thinking. How's your imagination working? Why do you believe that? Why did you think that? Why are you scared of that? I want to teach that to other kids too. So we're going to start it with a book. But I've actually been getting some requests to talk about all the advice I've received on the podcast, like a You Are a Lawyer book. So
that'd be great.
It's been in the back of my mind. So my brand is being a storyteller, and I'm like, books would be the next natural.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you edited the school paper. You know how to edit. You know how to write. You know you know what needs to be done. Go write your book, girl.
I'm a voracious reader, which makes me a really good writer. So
yeah.
Patrick, I have 2 more questions. If anyone is listening and they're getting ready for the bar exam, what advice would you have for them?
Take time off. If you're working, either quit your job or talk to your employer and make them understand how important it is for you to take that time off to study and study and take it seriously. Get in a study rhythm. And if you start feeling blocked, stop. If you keep going in circles, stop, walk away, get a drink of water, eat something, keep your blood sugar up, but do not let yourself get overwhelmed. Once you get overwhelmed, you can't undo it while you're still studying. You have to walk away and clear your head and then come back to it with a clear head.
Okay. I love those. I was just talking to someone about training for a marathon, and they were talking about how they can't coach you how to not get exhausted, but they can coach you how to work past the exhaustion. And that is get into your rhythm, take breaks when you need it, and then come back, because it is a marathon, right? To get you to those test days.
Yeah. You'll damage your brain if you sit there and try to just push through it. Don't push through it. Just take some time to decompress, get it out of your head, and then come back to it. I may not have passed it, but I came very close, and I probably could have, but it was not the Lord's plan for my life.
Yeah.
And I'm happier because of it.
I did not pass the Louisiana bar exam either. And I remember I was down and out for about 2.5 years, because you're just like, you're intelligent, but these 3 days are dictating your life, and it just is so unfair. And you kind of have to detach from it, and you're like, but you are more than the 3 days. You have to know that. So it takes a long time and different amounts of time for people to get that.
The license is a piece of paper. It does not define who you are. Law school did not define who I am. I defined, the Lord and myself, we defined who I am after the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I use it in such ways that no one would have believed. It's so different the way I use it. This beautiful piece of paper on my wall doesn't make me who I am, but it makes me proud of what I've done.
Yeah.
And but I did become a Louisiana notary. And if you know anything about Louisiana law, Louisiana notaries can do anything an attorney can do except for practice law.
Yes. And if you watch enough movies or social media, you'll see that the paralegals and notaries do everything anyway. The attorney just has their name on the paper. So it's fine. Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of lawyers are jealous of me because I make more money than them.
When I left my big law office, the hardest part was giving myself permission to do something else. I had replaced my salary, but I was like, it's so prestigious to say you work here, to say these are my colleagues, to have these business cards. Can I say I'm a podcaster? Like, it's just not the same. I had to give myself permission to say, yeah, you get to create this story. Go do it.
You have nothing to be ashamed of. You are doing what you are built to do, and you're doing great at it. And I am so excited watching what you're doing. I follow you on all social media platforms that you're on, and I dig it. I'm enjoying watching it. My friend is out there crushing it, and that's awesome.
Thank you. I'm having so much fun. A lot of fun. And I do it my own way. I'll work with some social media managers. They're like, do this. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I do 7-second clips, no talking, words on it. It works for me, but it works for me. So, my last question, Patrick, and I ask every guest that comes on the show, what would you say to a young lawyer, 5 years practicing or less, or a law student about what they can do with their law degree?
What can they do with their law degree? Look at me. Anything. It's not just one track. Think of something you want to do, and you can do it with your law degree. There are CEOs out there of Fortune 500 corporations that have never practiced law a day in their lives, but they have a Juris Doctor. As CEOs and CFOs and COOs, chief operating officers, anywhere in the C-suite that have Juris Doctors but are not practicing law. That is so doable. I learned that while I was in law school. And then look at what I'm doing. I am an independent consultant. I have a global brand now. I am known all over the world for what I'm doing. Never would have thought that would have happened in just 1 year. I'm having a great time. But you can also start your own law practice. You can practice big law, small law, whatever you want to do. There's no limits. Live a no limits existence. Live your life with no limits. Do not put a limitation on what you can do with that Juris Doctor. You worked hard for that. Student, you're working hard towards that. Decide what you want to do and realize that if you decide down the road you don't want to do it, you can pivot. You can pivot. Law school is going to teach you how to do that. Think on your feet and pivot when you need to. And don't get caught up in something that's not making you happy. If you're miserable, just don't give up. There's someone there that will help you through it. If you want to do it, but you get discouraged, you'll get through it.
Yeah, and differentiate discouragement from discomfort, because law school is very uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean you don't have to do it. But it's very uncomfortable.
Oh, it's not comfortable. And for anyone, I mean, our valedictorian of our class would tell you that. She made it look easy, or of my class would tell you that. She made it look easy. But I've had conversations with her, and she said, oh, gosh, this was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And Scott Kurgi is out there crushing. He's named partner here at a local prestigious law firm. He's now named partner, and he has his own consulting business. I mean, he's out there crushing it. And, Philip Bellin, who is a fellow classmate, he is out there crushing it. He has his license, but he's a certified industrial hygienist, and he is a expert witness. Wow. And he's crushing it. And I love seeing it. And then several of my classmates have their own practices. Two of them work for some of the large defense firms here in town. You see their billboards everywhere. And Southern has produced some great attorneys.
Yeah.
It really has.
Yeah.
That's what Southern does. See, Southern produces attorneys. The other schools, they prepare you to take the bar exam.
Yeah.
They don't produce great attorneys. Okay, I'm probably going to get in trouble with them and some of my friends that went to those law schools.
I'll give you grace for that one. It's alumni weekend. It's fine. Say all of it. So, Patrick, thank you so much. This has been great, and I really appreciate you coming on here. And you will probably be my 250th interview by the time it's released. But I'm still nervous every time I pitch someone, because I'm like, hey, do you want to come talk to me on my show? So I appreciate it. You were so excited. You were like, of course, yes, let's do it. And I appreciate it. Your story is great.
I'm loving that I'm on your podcast.
Mhm,
It's an honor to
mhm.
be here. From law school to now a content creator and an influencer and a podcaster. You are really a diamond. You are doing so beautifully, and I miss you. I miss seeing you. Every day. For 4 years, well, 3 years, I saw you
Mhm,
almost every
mhm.
day, and I really, really do appreciate you and thank you for having me on.
Yes, of course, of course. Thank you.